I saw the six in the World Cup logo as a Viking ship, and in the spirit, much of it was revealed to me following that. The Vikings, what do? They come and pillage and they take a plunder. The Vale of York hoard unearthing. Remember that? The Vale of York hoard. And so the World Cup trophy, $700,000 worth of 18 karat gold with a cultural and historical value of $20 million. So they come and they take a spoil or a plunder of gold. And what are the fans of Norway doing? But the Viking inspired rowing. So the Norwegians from Norway doing it in the stadium in Boston. Uh, the beat to the war drums. What are they doing? Rowing a ship to take a plunder. You see, they were doing it on an escalator in Boston with their Viking horns and their sun cross. So, in the spirit, I saw the World Cup trophy itself as a plucked out eye, and afterwards it was confirmed in me. In Norse mythology, Odin lost his eye by plucking it out and sacrificing it, and was granted to drink from the magical waters because it's a ritual of Gog and Magog. Magog from the waters, in the midst of the waters, the nations, the line of Japhet, the Gentiles, the coastland peoples, the pagans, the Goyim, the nations from the four corners of the world. And so it's a ritual, and this I saw as the gold of Ophir, which is associated with Solomon's 666 talents of gold, 666. The ships of Tarshish and Harem, but when God said, I would destroy Leviathan, the twisting serpent, and it also looks like a twisting serpent consuming the world. Leviathan is Egypt, the prince of the children of pride. So Magog and Gog, the children of pride, the prince of this world comes. Magog, the prince of the north. Odin, the one-eyed all-father of the Northmen, Norway. Magog comes from the north with its hordes, right? The gold, the treasure, the gold hoard of the veil. And so it's a ritual of Gog and Magog. In the World Cup, the midfield, the center line is the Hebrew Kaf, the symbol for the sun, the Hebrew letter Kaf, the symbol for the sun, the sun cross of Norway. And in Greek, the word sun means assembly, the synagogue, the assembly of Gog, right? Who come from the north to take a spoil with their hordes. The Bluetooth, who was a Viking, Ing, Freyr, the fertility goddess, or victory of Ing. But the Bluetooth, blue is Belus, Belu, Baal, Pan, the goat, the half man, half horse, Liber, Lupercalia, Valentine's. And so this year is the year of the horse, right? Pan, Valentine began February 17th, the double fire horse because it began with a ring of fire, the ion, the circle, the symbolic of Pan, Baal, Nimrod. And so the World Cup trophy, the gold of Ophir, that means to reduce to ashes, right? In hell, in the lake of fire. The dragon, New Year, the dragon means the watcher, the one who watches. Odin with the ravens, Hugin and Munin, I believe, in his eye, they watch the world. It's a time of upheaval and change and momentum. Remember that? So the double fire horse. And where is the World Cup being played? In New York, in MetLife Stadium. Netflix had the documentary Norway, the Dark Horse, because the word horse in folk etymology is from the Vikings. The word York used to mean place of the yew trees, but over time it came to mean horse or stallion, bay or inlet. So the New York World Cup final, the new dark horse, the House of York, the Royal House of York, before they joined with the Tudors, now perpetuated by the Duke of York, the Dukes of Edom, Esau, Gentiles, the Duke of York. But Britain, B'nai B'rith, children of the covenant. And so the World Cup final at MetLife Stadium, New Jersey, New York State. New York just won the NBA NABA Prophecy, the NBA championships. Right now in New York is the U.S. Open, the trophy with no name in Shinnecock Hills, which is in Long Island, New York, I believe, but in New York. And in Long Island, New York, they filmed Leave the World Behind with the frequency and the civil unrest and the blackout. New York, the Dark Horse. And so in the movie The Tomorrow War, they showed a scene with the World Cup, and in the background you see Qatar 2022. And the teams, the people suggested it was Brazil and Scotland. You see one is 18 and the other's 8, and this guy's 17 or 8. 17 is victory. And so in this World Cup, Scotland and Brazil are in the same bracket, and they're scheduled to play Wednesday, June 24th at 6 o'clock. But in the spirit, it's not revealed to me. But during the game, they had this event, which I believe is symbolic of the frequency. But in the movie, they had Christmas references, and you've heard the expression Christmas in July, and the World Cup Finals July 19th. But if you look at this aliens, it looks like this tentacle consuming the world, this aliens. But in the spirit, it's not revealed to me when they're turning on the frequency, but I believe that they will. But what is revealed to me, I saw in the logo a keyhole, because during a solar eclipse, it makes a keyhole. And so remember I said they were wearing 8s, the moon and sun pass in the sky, they're 8s. They make 8 paths, so the 8-8 union that makes an eclipse, right? A solar eclipse. And so you see they're showing it in darkness, and the white, because the moon, the face of the moon is still lit up. The moon is symbolic of Babylon. So I believe that the total solar eclipse on August 2nd, 2027 will be when Babylon falls, America falls, and with it the cities of the nations will fall with Babylon. I believe it is around the time of this total solar eclipse. The eye of darkness, if you look at this book, Odin's Eye, it's an eclipse, right? And these symbols are symbols of Odin. So the eye of darkness, right? The occultation without light and life and truth of God, the love and mercy of the Father, but the all-seeing eye of Odin, right? The Lord said, if your right eye offend thee, cast it out and pluck it cast it out. The eye of offense. But the statue, it looks like it's being veiled. And in Isaiah 25, God will swallow on this mountain, being veiled and swallowed up the earth by a veil. The covering that is cast over all peoples, the veil that is spread over all nations, he will swallow up death forever. On the green field, what they do in the green when they crucified the Lord, being behind the veil, cut off from God and his love and mercy and life, all revealing. And so I believe it's symbolizing a solar eclipse. And during a solar eclipse, it gives the impression of a twisting light, and it has the shadow bands. You see the bands on the trophy. It makes the crescents, right? The crescents, right, during the process of the eclipse. And so there's 16 cities hosting the World Cup, but 11 of the cities are in the U.S. So essentially, and the World Cup final is in the U.S. So it's essentially America, Babylon that's hosting the nations, the World Cup. So it's America that makes them drink out of her cup, right? America the Beautiful, the Statue of Liberty. Revelation 18:3. All nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adultery. She made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Revelation 14, Babylon is fallen. Fallen is that great city because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. In Nahum 3, woe to the bloody city, galloping horses and burning chariots, horsemen charging, swords flashing, the multitude. And so America, Babylon has made all nations drink of her cup, and now God will pour out the cup of wrath, which is the sores. And I believe it's the solar eclipse on August 12th that passes over Greenland, right? The soccer pitch, the Greenland, what they do in the green when they crucified the Lord, green symbolic of death. And also passing over northern Spain. The first game that Spain played with Cabo Verde, it was a 0-0 draw, symbolic of the two circles coming together in eclipse. So God will pour out the cup of wrath, I believe, in August 8, 2026, 26-8, symbolic of the 8-8 union. The first, the solar eclipse that makes a wedding ring, those eclipsed in darkness with a union in darkness. And so in Revelation 16, I heard a great voice out of the temple of seven angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. The first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which had worshipped his image. So Revelation 16, there's 16 cities in the World Cup, hosting the World Cup. Strong 16:16 is sojourner, stranger, foreigner, alien. And we saw Qatar, right, in the Tomorrow War, and this advertisement for Qatar Airways, over 160 destinations, 1-6. So all symbolic. If you take the World Cup logo and turn it upside down, it looks like 92, because in Psalms 92, that though the wicked sprout like grass and all evildoers flourish, so the time of Gog and Magog, when they believe that they will flourish after the second coming. But you have exalted my horn like that of a wild ox. Numbers 23, God brings them out of Egypt and is for them like the horns of a wild ox. So, Odin, the Norway, wearing the horns. And the sun, God was as the sun in the Old Testament. This person on National Archaeology, the Arch of the Nations, Gog and Magog. The horns of the sun coming up out of the waters, Magog. All spiritually apparent. And so in the Canada-Qatar game, the goalkeeper stood up. He was injured, and he stood up at the 66-minute and 6-second mark, and he held out the right thumb, the blood of the sacrifice on the thumb, right? Qatar in the movie The Tomorrow War with the aliens, those aliens from God, 666, the mark of the beast, the sores, who, God casts the net upon them. In the green, that symbolizes death. 40, the fourth nation of Babylon, the iron. God says, stand up and I will speak to you, I will talk to you, right? And so, remember previously I said, the American Wild Horse Conservation with the double fire year of the horse, a double fire year of boldness, change, and momentum. And they show the match momentum, the moment, as a frequency. And so for 4 months, I've been tracking the frequency, and twice in 4 months, they sent a frequency of 34,419. And I've seen it as equaling one of the stock markets. But this was a radio frequency, and normally it's supposed to be like 1 to 20, but it would also would fluctuate to 50 or 100. And so 34,419, right, twice in 4 months. This other frequency, 4793, which they repeatedly send maybe 20 times every couple of days. I witnessed it as the price of gold the first time I seen it, because everything has meaning and purpose. I saw my YouTube feed, He Ate Like a Horse, how I became Erling Haaland from Norway, the soccer player. So, all has meaning and purpose. And so it's no coincidence that if I go back to that previous post, the word that was for horse, York, that was Viking folklore became horse for York, is Uber. The Celtic word was Iberachon, but in the word, before I was born again in the spirit, I looked up my name when I was a young man, and it said of the yew tree, and this is place of the yew trees, and so my name is Ewan, Euan, and so that's why it's derived from that, of the yew tree. But when I was born again, receiving of the Spirit, and it was real to me that the word for evangelist in the Greek is euangelist, Euan, my name, because my name is Simon Peter Barjonas Chopra, with the spirit of Elijah, the spirit of John, for the purpose of Jonah, to preach to the children of Babylon. And Chopra was Pharaoh. Chopra was given over to Babylon. And so it's no coincidence that America, Babylon, is hosting the World Cup, that I live in Toronto, the city that's hosting the World Cup, that I live near the border of America in the wilderness, that all these things have meaning and purpose. I thank you for watching.